is having a great week. Um, this topic that I wanted to cover today may ruffle some feathers, uh, but I've been thinking about it a lot, just generally speaking. Outside of it, like just popping into my head, today it's been something that I've been thinking about for a while, but it's really about race and race in the U.S. Um, it's interesting being multiracial, and other people may have other multiracial uh, individuals may experience this as well, which is that um, race to multiracial individuals is essentially a social construct, right? Like if you're, let's say, like myself, I'm half black and half white Irish. Um, I am told what race I am, right? You know, if people find out you're black, then or you're half black, then you're just black. Um, but then if you take that to the kind of logical conclusion, right, which is, let's say I have a kid with somebody who is Asian. So now that kid is part Asian, could be Chinese, part black, part white. What is that person? Um, is that person Asian? Is that person black? Is that person white? Um, and you kind of just roll on and on and on. Then my kid ends up, having a kid with somebody who is, let's just say, South American. Could be any country, right? Now you're mixing in all this stuff. So the reason why I say that is a social construct is because it feels like it is, right? Like if you grow up and you are black, your two parents are black, you are black. And then people just say, oh, you're black. You grow up in a household with two white parents, or you grow up in a household with two Asian parents, you are that. And people just assign that to you. When you go to apply for a job, you check that box. Why does that box exist? DEI. But like, it's just weird that there is this pressure to have people fit nicely into boxes, um, when really at the end of the day, we're all Americans. I think the separation is, are you American or are you not? Um, I think that is really it. I mean, like, if you look at, you know, if you traveled outside of the US, um, you probably experienced this. Most countries outside of the US, um, and even westernized countries, are still very homogenous. If you go to China, you go to Japan, you go to Korea, you go to India, you go to South America, sans maybe Brazil, Colombia, and Argentina, for some World War II reasons. But like, these countries are full of one race of people. And you can even see this if you travel outside of the major metropolitan areas within anywhere in Europe. Um, it becomes very French, or it becomes very German or Austrian or Swiss. Like there is a culture there that is outside the city. When you go into the cities, it's more multicultural. But even there, depending on where somebody came from, the people in that country may view them slightly differently. But if you look at, like, you know, if you look at most very homogenous countries, and I'm going to look at Africa, um, India, Asia, like, since everybody's the same, they have to find a way to group people into boxes. I don't know what it is about, like, just human beings in general that has this necessity to want to group people into boxes. Well, like, the boxes that happen in other countries, since they all are generally the same race, Could be things like facial features. It could be height. Um, in every country where there are brown people, having lighter skin is a benefit to you, and that is something that you generally, I mean, you're generally born either very light or very dark or somewhere in between. And if you're light, you can prevent being darker. If you're dark, you can't really, if you're truly dark, like you can't get much lighter, no matter how much skincare products you put on and bleaching and all this other stuff. So these characteristics of just genetics determine your kind of caste within these different societies. Um, and so like, and that's just the way it is now. I mean, most societies have moved to kind of um, a wealth kind of caste system where either you're wealthy or you're not. And if you're wealthy, like you don't interact with the not wealthy. Um, and in some cases, like you do background checks before you even date somebody or get married to somebody to find out if they're from a particular caste within a certain country. Um, it's just very interesting, right? And then you look at the U.S. and the U.S. is multicultural. It has a bunch of different colored people, right, that make up America, um, and people that have immigrated legally and also illegally. But everybody has kids. Those kids are then American. There's a whole separate conversation of illegal immigrants having kids in the U.S. and that conversation. But for all intents and purposes, the U.S. is a melting pot of a lot of different cultures which make up America. And there's American culture, like there's America, um, but there's this need throughout our society to put people in boxes, and you find this in the U.S. It is when you turn on the TV, it's oh, we polled or surveyed blacks in this area, or we surveyed Hispanics in this area, or we surveyed Asians in this area, and they think this, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. There is no structural difference between any race in the US. Now, you could say that if you're living in a city and you're lower income, your struggles across the board, they go outside of race. White people that are poor in major cities have the same struggles that Black people and Asian people and Hispanics, and drop in any other race that you want or color in there. They all have the same problems. And so, like, the need to want to separate these people by the color of their skin is absurd on its face. You take that into the workplace, and people want to say, oh, DEI is not a thing, like in a work. I mean, there's in HR, there is a person designated as a DEI individual within most major organizations. This person's job essentially is to tell all the other white people in the office how racist they are, and then force other cultures in the office place to remind them how racist they are. Me, as someone who is multiracial, finds it super offensive, annoying as hell, when we have like, oh, it's Asian Pacific Islander month, or it's Black month, and I'm like, what are we taught? What are we? Everybody in here is American. I don't understand why we need to have this division within the office and segment people out. But there are people that are hired to do that. Everybody watching this knows the DEI person in their HR, or that their HR has a DEI initiative. This is across all businesses, and it's so ridiculous to bring that into the workplace and segment people that way. But then to also create hiring standards to say like, or checking the box on hiring to say, oh, we don't have enough of this race, so we need to bring in this race into the office. because this race represents X percentage of the population, so we need to have that represented in our workplace. Um, Horrible idea. The idea of a business is to be profitable and to hire the best and talented. If those people happen to be just by chance a different color, that's great, whatever. But it doesn't matter. Um, I was on a hiring team at a tech company that's publicly traded, and we were interviewing a bunch of candidates. And the HR person on the call, and this is something you're not supposed to say, um, even though we all know that quotas are in place, is to acknowledge that there are quotas in place, or that you're just trying to hire for a specific thing. But this particular recruiter said on the call, we were down to two candidates. One was black, and the other one was not black. Let's just say that. And this person on the call said, "Oh, it's great that we had good feedback on this individual because we were looking to hire a black candidate." Okay, weird. That's just weird to say. Um, it's weird to say openly, like, oh, we want to hire somebody of a specific race. Um, Very off-putting. And by the way, to for the people that are hired because of their race, um, those people then go into the office and have to question whether or not they were hired because of the color of their skin or because they actually had the merit to actually get the job or the competency, right? And so that's one side of it. But on the other side of it is like it's kind of racist um, to lower the standards for a specific race because you think that that person can get the job otherwise just comes across racist and everybody knows it, but people are afraid to say it. Like I don't understand. Um, and so yeah, I mean it's just the way that race is trying to be foisted upon America is solely to divide us. It is abundantly clear. Um, there is one party that's fixated on race. There is another party that is not. You can make that determination of which party you think isn't focused on race and is focused on merit. And, you know, everybody has an equal opportunity to the American dream. And there's the other side, and you can make a determination of who that is that thinks legitimately that people of color can't succeed without their hand in helping them up. Um, Again, I'll let you make that determination of who you think that party or those parties are and where they land. Um, Again, I mean, like it's just every every time that race is talked about, it's just through this finite lens of oh, these people are different than these people. No, we are literally all a people. We are all Americans. Like if Americans don't want Americans don't want people flooding the southern border from other countries, that's not racist. That's looking at America's interests, right? It's just saying like we are Americans. We don't want other people coming in, diluting our labor force, driving down wages, and creating an entire like slave labor system within the US, also contribute to human trafficking and all this other stuff that's happening. It's not racist, that's just being American. And like again, America consists of every race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, like all of that stuff is in America. So it's just I've been thinking about this for a while, and you know, you travel and you see like real racism, you see real caste systems based on things that aren't controllable, family history, um, you know, it's just, you know, physical traits like that is horrific. In the US, we are the least racist country, generally speaking. The only systemic racism that's left in the country is through DEI policies and what's left of the Voters' Rights Act. like all of these policies that were put in with good intentions, but were reverse racism, which is just racism, by the way, um, against, and it was favoring one race over another and allowing certain races to have the ability to do things that others can't. Um, that stuff is going away. But generally speaking, the US is the least racist place on the face of the earth. And on top of it, we don't have a caste system. We don't have all of this other historical baggage that other countries have that are very homogenous. Um, but yeah, I just wanted. I was thinking about race, and why America is kind of great, and different than other countries. But also, like, it is super annoying to constantly turn on the TV and have race as the one of the things that makes it into every single news segment. Usually by dividing a population and talking about this particular population was polled on this, and they think this. So ridiculous, so absolutely ridiculous. By the way, to a pollster out there, would love if you removed race from the polls that you do and just focused on state by state, which says more about the people in that state and the way that they're thinking more broadly than a national poll and then segmenting out the groups. It's so ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely absurd at this point. But at any rate, again, America is a great place. America is the least racist place. Um, and one day we will be able to get past the one side of the aisle focusing on race to ultimately divide us. And maybe they'll focus on bringing us together, which would do a lot, I think, for the American psyche. But at any rate, tell me what you think below. Like, share, subscribe if you want more of this content, hear me rant about things. But keep believing. The best for America is still ahead. Peace out.